happiness. So welcome to this class on, the topic is Happy for No Reason. And I'm your speaker, Roy Gibbon. To let you know who I am, I work here in Shumei in the education department, and I'm the co-author of this book, An Offering of Light, dealing with Jore natural agriculture and art. And I'm the author of this little booklet, Principles and Practices of Shumei, soon to be a third edition, much bigger and more thorough. And I'm talking about a topic that, I don't know, is anybody here interested in happiness? Anybody wanting to be more unhappy? So raise your hand if you want to be happy, lower your hand if you want to be more unhappy. Okay, there's no hands going down, so that's a good crowd. Can anybody define happiness for me? Does everybody here know what happiness is, what it feels like to be happy? Does anybody not know what happiness feels like? Okay, this is a group that doesn't like raising their hands. Okay.
Happy meaning you have peace of mind.
That's a beginning.
Yes.
Is that all there is to happiness?
No, there is a lot more.
That's a start. That's right.
And minus painful events that cause you unhappiness and grief.
That's good. So I asked you the question. I dared to try to define happiness in here. So I'll read you what I said just to get started, if I can find it in here. Here we go. So what is happiness? Happiness is a state of peace, as you said, peace and contentment, combined with radiant joy. Happy people glow. Does that sound like happiness?
Yes.
So yes, there's a foundation of peace, but that's not enough to be happy, right? It's good to be peaceful, but peace is foundation, but then if you're not glowing, you're not truly happy. Right? But if you're glowing and you don't have a foundation of peace, that could be you're in a good mood, you're in a bad mood, it may not be stable.
Or you're drunk.
Or you're drunk, there we go. Okay. And so this again topic is happy for no reason. So many of us can be happy for a particular reason. Like let's say if you won the lottery, you won $200 million, would you be happy? At least for a while, right? For a while, what is it keeps us from being happy? When things don't go our way, we're not happy, right? When things go our way, we're more happy, right? So if you won $200, do you think the things that normally bother you would bother you? They say there's someone at work and they're always cranky, your boss yells at you, someone's stealing your stapler from your desk all the time, all these things that bother you. If you just won $200 million, would those things bother you?
No.
You go,
They become irrelevant.
I was like, I don't care if you like me or not, I just got $200 million, right? So things can change, If you fall in love, the little things bother you as much when you're in love. But those are all happy for a reason, right? So you can have happiness from within or happiness from without. So the external things in life, they make a big difference. If you are sick and in pain, you're not going to be so happy, right? If you're in extreme poverty or living on the streets, homeless, it's hard to be happy. If you're living in a war zone where people are fighting and killing and arguing, you're not going to be so happy. So those are the external things that can cause us misery. But did you know that of the very wealthy people, 40% of wealthy people are much less happy than your average American? 40% of the multimillionaires are unhappy, but the other 60 are happy. But wealth does not make that much of a difference. They've done studies, and this is a figure from about 10 years ago. They said once people make about $12,000 per year, then money didn't make a big difference as far as happiness level. It might be 15,000 a year, but just barely enough to pay your rent if you have roommates and you get the food you need and just the basics. After that, that's not what makes a difference. So, do you think a happy person has good relationships?
Yes.
Yes? Anyone think not? Do you think they're happy because they have good relationships? Or do you think they have good relationships because they're happy? What's that?
Both.
Both. That's great. Anyone else?
Second one.
What's that? So how about success? Do you think successful people tend to be happy? Or do you think happy people tend to be successful?
Yeah.
No, but yes, you can't say yes, it's an either or. But
So, yeah, happy.
yeah, they find out that happy people tend to be more successful than unhappy people. It's not the only thing, but it's one factor.
How are you defining success?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I guess by whatever means you want. I don't know how they defined it in the study. It's a good question. Is it by money? Is it by doing what you like to do? Is it by having the lifestyle you want? I don't know how they defined it, so it's a good question. Robert Joseph Campbell, this famous mythologist, he said that when you, I'm paraphrasing it, I forgot the exact quote, when you do that which makes you blissful, doors open for you. If you do what you don't like, those doors don't open. And even when they do open, you may not step through. So, like, let's say you're a singer, you love singing. Well, people are going to hear you, right? Eventually they might say, hey, can you sing at this party I know? Or we need someone to help with this performance over here. And people start giving you offers because they really like what you're doing. If you're a good artist, people say, we need someone to do this, and then people find out about you and doors open. So if you do what you love doing, it can help. Now, there's something called the happiness set point. Has anybody heard of that before? The happiness set point. Let me see where my note is, where I define it. Happiness set point is, they say that everybody has a certain level of happiness. And it goes up and down, but it always kind of come back to a certain level. They think it's partly based on genetics and partly based by conditioning and environment. Okay? And they say, they used to say that your set point never changed. Now they're finding, yes, it can change, but it's not easy. Can you change your genetics?
Never.
How many people say no?
Change your DNA.
Yeah, you can.
You say yes? You say yes?
Yes.
Okay, we have 3 yeses here. Well, now they're finding with epigenetics that you can change your DNA. We don't know how much, but they're finding that you can. The cell, according to latest studies, not that new, the cell membrane is actually intelligent. It actually interacts with the environment. It takes information in, and it programs the DNA, and it communicates with the environment. So over time, you learn new things. The DNA itself is more like your hard drive on your computer. You use a keyboard or a microphone to put information in the computer and you store it there. But you can change what's on the hard drive to some extent. They still don't know how much and what makes a difference. Generally, if you have a strong feeling or emotion, that tends to affect the DNA more. But there's unconscious beliefs and interpretations that go with that, so they're still learning about that. So you can change that to some extent. Can you change your conditioning?
Yes. Yes.
Don't say yes too quickly. You can change how you respond to your conditioning. I don't know if you can change your conditioning, that's what happened in the past. So there's more room for that. Now, to use myself as an example, so I grew up in an abusive household as a child, so it was emotionally and physically abusive. I had low self-esteem, poor communication skills, emotional problems. I was a mess, and I was quite withdrawn. And then, and I never studied at all in high school. I never read books, I never studied. I was just going nowhere fast. And then in college, I started to change. I started to read books and think about stuff. But I was a moody person. I'd go up and down. And but I started making friends. I started crawling out of my conditioning. I did various therapies and things to heal myself. But I was still moody. But one day I said to myself, you know, I'm tired of going up and down and being depressed. You know, I see what it means, go up and down. I see when I go to get depressed, I'm looking for something and there's nothing to be found there. And sometimes when I get happy, I'm a little too happy. So I saw that and finally said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to quit doing it. And I did. I didn't get depressed anymore. The tendency would come up, but I say, I'm not going there. I've been there, done that, so I quit doing that. So I got rid of the ups and downs, but I can't say I was really happy. I was happier than before. So over time, I've been learning to be more happy. And external things do make a big difference, but when you find happiness within, and you start bringing happiness to whatever you do. Now, Shumei's founder, his name is Meisha Sama. This is Shumei for those who don't know. Shumei's founder is Meisha Sama. He says, one of the things he says is you can only be happy if you help others to be happy. You can only be happy if you help others be happy. Okay. So that doesn't make sense. If you want to be happy, you want to chase after it, right? So you want certain relationships, you want money, you want success, you want a right living situation, all these things we look for, and they're important. But again, there are successful people who are miserable. Wealthy people, celebrities, people you think have the perfect life, and then you find that they're on antidepressants, or they're addicted to alcohol or drugs or any number of things. Now there's a doctor who's also a social worker and an author. His name is Gabor Mate. He's Hungarian. He lives in Canada right now. He's written lots of books. And he was working in a clinic in Vancouver, British Columbia, treating drug users and alcoholics. Most of them were homeless, but some were not. And what he found working with them was that they were all in deep pain, emotional pain. Some had PTSD, there were maybe veterans, some from abusive homes or upbringing. They all had pain. And so what they were doing with these drugs and alcohol, they were self-medicating. If you get drunk enough or get high enough, the pain, you don't feel it so much. It doesn't help you deal with the pain, you're not overcoming it, but it's how they managed. So if you try to tell someone, get off this medication because it's not good for you, what are they going to do? If you quit for a while, the pain comes back, and you go, oh, I can't do this, and you go back. So what do we do in this country and in Canada when someone's a drug addict? If you catch them, you throw them in jail and punish them. If you punish them enough, you think, well, they'll quit taking these drugs because they'll realize they're going to get thrown in jail. Do you think that by punishing a drug addict or an alcoholic, that's going to make them stop? If their reason for doing that is pain, and you give them more pain, is that going to make them want to quit taking these things? If the pain is stronger, the desire to cover it with alcohol or drugs is going to get stronger. Does that make sense? So you want to heal people emotionally. You want to heal yourself emotionally. That really would be much more effective if we wanted to turn people that are a drain on society, make them happy and healthy so that they contribute to society. It makes sense, right? So for people like that, happiness is maybe more urgent than for some of the rest of us. So to be happy, you want to heal the emotional pain that we carry. The popular author Eckhart Tolle, anybody know him who wrote The Power of Now? He says we all carry a pain body. It's like the aura. You know what? Everybody know what an aura is? It's this light body we carry, and there's an emotional body that's related to that we carry the pain with us from one experience or another, and we bring it with us everywhere. So when you meet people, you get a first impression with somebody, and well, that's a happy person, that's an angry person, that's a sad person, that's a nervous person. You get a feeling from body language. They say up to 90% of communication is nonverbal. It's facial expression, body language, voice tones. We pick up stuff. We don't always think about it, but we get a sense about somebody. So if somebody's carrying a lot of pain, when they come to meet you, what are they saying? They're saying, hi, I'm somebody full of pain, good to meet you. It's good to try to be pleasant, but we carry that with us. So you want to make a good impression on people, you want to get over this pain. So with pain, There's various therapies you can do for that. I did a lot of psychotherapy and stuff, and it helped me a lot. And I've done meditation, and I've been a member of Shume here for about 25 years, and we do something called Jore, spiritual healing, and that helps a lot with calming you down, making you more centered. It can help you release a lot. My theory about something like with Jore is that you get this light, you get this healing energy, but then you want to take that and make positive changes in your life so that you can absorb the energy and help you change for the better. Now, how many people here have tried to change yourself for the better? How many people have tried self-improvement in one way or another? Okay. At one time or another, you find something about yourself like, I'm too lazy, I'm too selfish, I'm not motivated, I have a bad temper, all these things you go, and finally you go, I gotta fix that thing. How successful were you? The people who were successful, changing yourself through effort, how many of you, raise your hands if you were successful? Okay. How many of you were unsuccessful? So I was successful in some things and unsuccessful in others. When you were successful, did you do it all on your own, or did others help you? If others helped you, raise your hand. Okay. If you did it all on your own, raise your hand. Okay, so I did both. Okay. I have a nice quote here somewhere if I can find it. Here we go. This is by a corporate consultant speaker, Martin Root. He says, you have to do it by yourself, and you can't do it alone. You have to do it yourself, and you can't do it alone. Isn't that interesting? Have you noticed that some of the more profound things in life are paradoxical? Yes but no. Like the Dalai Lama once said, you're perfect just the way you are, but you all need some improving. Now that's a contradiction too, isn't it? Which one do you think? You think, are you perfect just the way you are, or do you think you need some improving? We should have the people that think you're perfect should stand on this side, the people that think you need some improving sit on this side. So it's kind of true, it's really a difference of level. On one level, deep down, we're all the same. You know that feeling? You meet someone, you find that somehow there's a basic humanity that you recognize in others. Call it the soul, or the spirit, or the no-self if you're Buddhist, whatever you want to call it, but something deep down that's impersonal, unchanging, and universal. That's someone's essential humanity. That part doesn't need any improving. Okay? But on the level of our individuality, our emotions, our mind, our behavior, well, I don't know, I've never met anyone who's perfect. Anybody here ever met someone you thought was perfect? Or you think someone's perfect, then you wait a few weeks or a few months and they go, oh, maybe not. I've met people that seem just so kind and sweet and nice. And it wasn't that was fake, but we have other sides to us, right? So, we all can use some improving. That's our human side. We need that. But the more we improve, things get better. Again, a happy person, not only does a happy person enjoy their life better, but happy people tend to make others happy. Who do you want to invite to a party? An angry, negative, depressed person, or a sweet, happy, cheerful person? Oh, right? It's hard to have a good party if everyone's depressed and angry. So, you want to be invited to parties, learn to be more cheerful and pleasant, authentically so.
I have a question by them, right? What if you try to make, generally speaking, you feel happy when you help others happy or make them happy, but what if they don't appreciate you, or they take it in the wrong way, so they end up not being happy even though you're trying to make them happy? So if that's the case, then you would not be happy.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I like it when people ask questions. I like to interact more, so I'm not just talking. So if someone doesn't appreciate you trying to make them happy, then what do? Quit trying to make them happy. Just be pleasant for your own sake. Now, there's something the difference between, there's those who enjoy making others happy, and there's others who try to make happy to get their approval. We call them people pleasers. It's okay to be a people pleaser, but then if you want to get their approval or their support because you're being extra nice to them, are you really doing it for their sake, or are you doing it for your own sake? Okay. I used to be a people pleaser to some sense. I needed, because I had, again, psychological problems, emotional problems from childhood, so I had low self-esteem and I wanted approval and support from people. But I noticed that whenever I acted that way, people would kind of cringe and move back. I didn't understand it because I was young. I just knew that some of my behavior worked, some of my behavior didn't work. I didn't have self-knowledge. I was too young. I didn't know that I needed approval. I didn't know that I had so many insecurities. I had slowly started to understand as I got older. So once I understood it and started looking deeper, I could slowly start changing it. First you change your behavior, and then you start seeing if you can change the inside. If I have the need for approval, do I strangle it and stuff it and push it down or throw it out the window? Would that work? No. I needed self-love and I needed self-esteem. So how do you get self-esteem? One of the ways to get self-esteem is to contribute to others, but not, again, to get back. You just naturally do it, and you watch yourself change. But when we say you want to make people happy and they're not being happy, some people don't really want to be happy. You notice some people, they don't want to be cheerful, they don't want to be happy. Then you bless them, you let them be their own way. Some people, you make a joke, I had some friends, I was having fun with another friend of mine, we were just making lots of jokes and stuff. They got hostile. They didn't enjoy that humor. I don't know if they thought I was being sarcastic or attacking them or but it didn't work, so I had to quit making jokes because it didn't work. Okay, some people say everyone needs love. Do you think that's true? Does everybody need love? A lot of people don't know. How about, does everybody want love?
Yeah.
Yes.
She says no. I'd say yes, everybody needs love, but not everybody wants love. That sounds crazy, right? You need it, but you don't want it. You know what I mean by that? What do you think I mean by that?
I think they're hurting too much and they're afraid of it.
Yes, that's right. They're hurting too much and they're afraid of it. You know, some gangsters are like that. They're mean, they don't trust anyone. They've been hurt and abused for so long that they don't feel comfortable with people that are warm and loving. Either they don't trust it, maybe their parents were loving to them one minute and mean to another, or the parents pretended to be loving to them and then they'd be cruel, so they don't trust it. Or they might have so much pain that they've learned to put a shell around themselves and get by, and if you show them some warmth, that pain, that little hurt child in there starts to open up and they don't like that feeling. So they'll actually attack you if you act loving. You just have to act respectful and polite with them. Yeah, deep down they need it, but on the outer level, they don't like it. Some people don't like it if you're happy. Because they're unhappy, they're jealous, or they think, gee, I'm unhappy, it makes them feel bad. There's a number of reasons. So if you're happy and trying to make someone happy, you're pushing someone's buttons. Maybe the best way you can make those people happy is just to be pleasant with them and leave them alone. And then they're comfortable just you being pleasant. Everybody likes kindness and consideration and respect. Everyone. So you can do that. And just be, just happy enough, but find the right balance and let them be the way they are. How many of you would like to change the problematic people in your life? I'd like to change them for the better. Have you ever tried to change someone for the better? Does it work? It's like, if you push somebody, what are they going to do? They're usually going to push back, or they might run away. Either way, pushing doesn't work. You can push people a little bit, and then they're going to either run away, attack you, or avoid you. It doesn't work. So you can't make people change. But if you're kind and pleasant and cheerful and considerate and respectful, do you think that will benefit people? It rubs off. So somebody said that we're like an average of the 5 people we spend time with the most. We're a lot like kind of a mix of the 5 people. They reflect who we are. You're probably all going down the list. Where are the 5 people I spend the most time with? Do I need to kick some people out? And maybe I need to spend more time with the Dalai Lama or who's some other saintly person that's still alive. So you try to pick those people, but then you not want to spend time with people. So the best thing is to try to be the kind of person you'd like to spend time with. So another title for this would be Happiness from the Inside Out. Another date for this talk. So the more we learn to be happy on the inside, the more we bring happiness to the things that happen in our lives. So what do they say? One of the best ways, again, to make others happy. One of the best ways to be happy or to cheer yourself up is to cheer others up. Not that you're trying to change them, but you just be cheerful and that happens. So what do they call it? Fake it till you make it? Or that fake it till you make it. So sometimes you just got to be, make a little effort to change yourself for the better. If you try to change yourself with great effort, what happens? You ever try to really make yourself change? In psychology, it'd say if you try too hard, you end up suppressing parts of yourself. You push it down, like, I hate it when I'm grumpy or angry, so I'm just going to force myself to never get angry again. What happens to people who suppress their anger? Anybody know?
We become
Explode.
sick.
What's that?
You explode.
Yeah, so they hold it in, and you know, one day you see them, oh, you look really nice today. What do you mean? I don't always look nice. They lose their temper, right? Because when you hold these things in, eventually they come out. It's like a tea kettle or a steam kettle. It builds and builds and builds, and then you never open a steam kettle when it's, you know, really hot, because it'll explode. You have to let it out slowly. So somebody who has a lot of anger, they need to slowly let it out. But when you try to force it in, it gets dark and ugly, and then some little thing, and these people overreact. You ever found yourself overreacting to something?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. That means I've been holding things in, and then when I react, it's overdone, and I know that's within me. When we make a mountain out of a molehill, there's things within us that need healing. So if you're not going to do psychotherapy, what are some other things you can do? One of the simplest things I think that are very healing is so simple most people would go, nah, that won't work. What do you think that might be? It'll make you happy, start to help release a lot of the negative emotions, make you easier to be around. What might that be?
Prayer?
Well, that's good, but that's not what I was thinking about. What was that one? Meditation? Sometimes, meditation's tricky because there's so many different kinds of meditation. Some meditations are actually repressive. Some meditations you're just observing. Some meditations you're rising above it. It depends. For me, one of the simplest things to do is focusing on gratitude. Now some people go, oh, that's just a shallow thing, it's nice, you know. But there's actually I think it's a Buddhist group in Japan, I forget the name of it. And their primary practice is not meditation, but gratitude. Do you know the name of that group, Alan? I have a book on it somewhere. It starts with the letter N. Anyway, they just practice gratitude over and over and over again. And there's actually a farmer somewhere in Japan that focuses on gratitude. It's an organic farm, and they get together, all the farm workers get together in the morning and express gratitude to each other, and they walk around, they say thank you to the plants, and everything's done really well. And there's testimonials on this film, documentary about them, where some of their workers were depressed, or had family problems, or had anxiety issues, and they started becoming happier and more emotionally balanced, more functional, by being around people that express gratitude all the time. And as they started practicing it, thinking that, well, if you're grateful to the plants, they grow better, which studies show actually works. If you send love or gratitude to plants when you're growing them, they do better. If you have a household plant, tell it, thank you for growing, thank you for being in my life, and you really mean it. Or I love you, little plant, do you give it some affection? Plants are conscious, intelligent, sensitive beings. They respond. There's been studies showing this. But so at this farm, that's what they do. So you get a new worker at the farm, you tell them, well, okay, now we're an organic farm, but you must say thank you to the plants every day, and maybe you can name the plants you talk to and say hello to them. That's my job. Yes, if you want to work here, you got to do that. Well, expressing gratitude and thanking the plants and giving them names, it changed the person who was doing that. They became happier. They loved working there. So Shumei here, we have a practice called natural agriculture. It's a spiritual way of farming. And it's very similar to what I'm talking about, where we send love or gratitude or respect to the plants, and we don't use chemicals. It's a little different than organic. It's similar. And if the farmer grows plants with love and gratitude, and you're spending hours a day in the garden, what do you think is going to happen to you? You'll become happier, because can you be angry or depressed when you're focusing on the gratitude? How about if you're focusing on love? And when I say love, I mean a higher form of love. There's a whole books about different kinds of love and all that. Psychotherapist named Erich Fromm back in the 50s wrote a book called The Art of Loving, where he actually analyzed and dissected love and the different kinds of love and the levels of love and all that. It's a brilliant book. It doesn't help you feel love, but you'll understand it more. So in Christianity, they say the highest form of love is called agape. Everybody heard that word, agape? It's unconditional, universal love. It means love, you love without any conditions, and people who are not nice to you, you still love them. It doesn't mean you like what they do, but you love them on some deep level. It doesn't mean you like all of their personality, you don't like what they do, their behavior, but on some level, you see the basic humanity in them and you love them. You try to see the good in others. Yes?
Roy, what you said is scriptural because in the Bible, in Psalms, it says, enter into God's presence with thanksgiving.
There you go, thank you.
Yeah.
So love is one way. I lost my track, train of thought here. Oh yeah, so agape, it's unconditional. You love people no matter what. Doesn't mean you have to love their personality, but if you find certain things in them that you like, you can focus on that as well, and let the other parts of them slide. Not only will the person improve without you trying to, you're not doing it for any motive, but when people feel loved, other than the ones that are afraid of it, they generally tend to start behaving better. Or if you tell people, thank you for doing this, or I really like how you do this, you give them appreciation, people blossom. How many here like it when someone compliments you? I do, even if they don't mean it. I'd rather have an insincere compliment than nothing at all. It's nice. And if somebody flatters me, I'm grateful that they're feeling that way, but inside I think, well, not really, because I don't want my ego to inflate. I go, well, yeah, but if they knew this side of me, they wouldn't be saying that. But I'm grateful that they give me that warmth and feedback. That part's very, very generous. So gratitude and love are two ways that you can avoid paying the psychiatrist, paying well, Fritz Perls, the father of Gestalt therapy. Anybody know what Gestalt therapy is? I'm an amateur Gestalt
The entire, the whole?
Right.
No?
Well, Gestalt means the whole are greater than the parts of the whole. The parts are greater than the parts are greater than
the parts make the whole. No?
The Gestalt means, yeah, the parts make the whole, but they also say the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I got a little tongue twisted
No,
there.
in other words, like you said, the whole is greater than the
sum of the parts.
Pieces.
Yeah. For instance, you can have a car, the engine's over there, the transmission's over there, a wheel is over there. Is that a car? It's only a car when you put it all together. So then it's a whole. If you take orange and you separate the different parts of it, and then you try to put it together, again, that's like an artificial drink. It's no longer natural. So anyway, there's Gestalt psychology and Gestalt therapy. So Fritz Perls, father of Gestalt therapy, said that neurotics, does everybody know what a neurotic is? A neurotic is someone who has inner conflict. And neurotics build dream houses. I wish I was like this, I wish my life was like this, but that's the way it really is, okay? They build neurotics build dream houses. Psychotics live in them. They live in their dream houses. Oh boy. And psychiatrists collect the rent. So psychotherapy is really good. If you get a really good psychotherapist or counselor, that's great, And it takes time and money. I highly recommend it if you can find a good one. But until then, as you're saving up money to go to the therapist or trying to find a good therapist, because some of them are so-so, then focus on love or gratitude. And there's exercises you can do to feel love. One is to, every day, try to think of someone that you love and admire and would want to spend time with. And think about it and feel it till you feel love. Then imagine your heart opening up and just absorb that feeling and take it with you every day. Okay? Every day you're expanding your heart a little more, psychic, spiritual heart, and you're getting more comfortable and more familiar with that feeling, and you carry it with you. And over time, watch what happens to you. Or you can do that with gratitude. How many people here keep a gratitude journal? I don't either, but I do think about things I'm grateful for. I just don't write it down. But if I was more disciplined, some people write down 5 or 10 things every day they're grateful for. Now here at Shimmy, we have services where we do chanting and joy. The 5 o'clock one, at the end we have gratitude time where people can stand up or sit down and say something they're grateful for. So when we first started doing that, I thought, oh really, we're gonna say things we're grateful for, even though I have nothing I'm grateful for. Then I realized I don't have things I'm grateful for because I'm not thinking about it. But if I think about it, I'm grateful that I'm healthy, I'm grateful I'm alive, I'm grateful I live in Pasadena, not Afghanistan. I'm grateful I have nice friends. I could go down the list, but I tend to take those things for granted. But if you've been in a really bad situation in your life and finally you come back to what you used to have that was much better, you go, excuse me, you go, wow, I didn't realize how lucky I had it. Then you start becoming grateful for it. So I talked about the set point. The set point is your level of happiness that they think you're born with, or at least as part of your conditioning, and they say it's very hard to change. But now they're finding you can change it. But it takes either effort or grace. Effort means you practice becoming more positive, you practice focusing on love or gratitude, focus on helping others. That's a biggie. If you start helping others, not because you want their approval or them to say, oh, what a wonderful person you are, Roy, but just because you want to help, that changes you. That's what I found it has done with me. If you come from a sense of need, I need people to love me, I need people to think highly of me, I need people to approve of me, I'm coming from a place of lack. I'm missing something. Hi, my name's Roy, I'm missing all this stuff, let me tell you. Well, that's not going to work very well, is it? But if I think, how can I help you? How can I make you happier? What can I do to serve you? I'm coming from a place of abundance. If you come from a place of abundance, how are you going to feel? How's that person going to feel that you're interacting with? You're coming there to make them happy, to serve them. You just naturally want people to benefit. It makes all the difference in the world. So you learn to start living from a place of abundance rather than lack. That changes you. So all those things can raise your set point level. So I know because I went from here to somewhere, I don't know where it is, but much, much higher. I've done it through effort. Then there's also grace. Does anybody know what grace is? What is grace?
Humble. No?
No, not really. Although a person who has grace might become humble, but that's not what grace is. What is grace? Debbie?
Well, in Christianity, God gives you special graces, and you don't deserve it, or you didn't work for it, but you just have grace.
Okay, so grace, thank you. Grace is some blessing you got that you did not earn. You did not earn it, just happened. So, I mean, sometimes what they said was a sinner, a criminal, a thief, a liar, I don't know what. Something happens to them that's wonderful and it changes them. And you think, why did that person get that scum of the earth, And look at them now, they're driving a Rolls Royce and everyone's nice to them and blah, blah, blah. Well, who knows why? But sometimes something will happen to you. Someone will just give you a really wonderful, pleasant present. You go, what? You inherit a bunch of money. Well, like here we have something called Joy. We have a little Joy booth there where we're giving energy healing for free. That's sort of like grace because you're not paying for it. You're getting this blessing that's very healing. You can't say whether you deserve it or not. You're just getting it. Sometimes things can come to you that can benefit you greatly. You could say it's your good karma that brought it, but who knows? But you get something. Someone is extremely nice, does something wonderful for you, and it changes you. That's grace. So always be open to the fact that life may give you something wonderful that you never expected. That can happen, but you don't want to wait for it. You could wait for it forever, it may never happen. So until grace comes, you do what you can to make yourself happier and see how you can bring that happiness to others. So if you're happy in being of service to others, you're happy loving others without trying to get love back, you're just grateful for all these little things in life, then you start becoming happy for no reason. If you're grateful for all the little things in your life, you're just happy. So you want to get to that point. So actually you could call that spiritual development. You know, we could call it self-improvement, but if it goes high enough, then you're not just feeling love, you are love. You're not just feeling gratitude, you are living gratitude. You're not just feeling peaceful, you have this deep peace that's untouched within you. So then you, let's see. Okay, deep within us we have a spirit. Deep down the spirit. Does anybody know what spirit is? Spirit, we'll go back to this again. Spirit is, you could say, pure, formless, eternal awareness. Deep down we also have the spirit within us. It's formless presence. It's always here, but it's not a thing. You cannot focus on it. You cannot make it into the object, because awareness cannot be an object. Awareness is a subject aware of things. So you could call spirit equals awareness. Your awareness is always peaceful and untouched, but our little self, or personality, or ego, your personality or self or ego feels separate from everything. So if you feel separate from a bunch of objects, you're just little objects surrounded by everything else, you can be afraid, you can be worried, you can be nervous, and you go into survival mode. But if you're formless spirit, formless awareness, it's everywhere and nowhere. From the level of spirit, you're not separate from anything. Spirit is everywhere and nowhere. I'm getting all kind of metaphysical on you. So the more peaceful and silent you get within, the more you start feeling this eternal presence that's always here, that doesn't change whether your life goes up or down. And then eventually, okay, let me go back to here. Normally the ego, let's say that's the ego, is surrounded by all these objects, you know, a world of objects. But to the spirit, there's no objects. To the spirit, everything is within consciousness, within awareness. You're bigger than all of that. From spirit's point of view, it's all one thing. From the ego's point of view, it's many things. So the more quiet and peaceful you get, the more you start to feel like you're not surrounded by objects. Everything is within you. That's called love. So this is really nothing, just pure awareness. Awareness is not a thing. When you are nothing, then you feel freedom. When you're everything, that's love. So as you grow spiritually and you start letting go of a lot of your negativity and problems and stuff, you get more and more peaceful and more quiet. You find that when you're very peaceful, your sense of self will get very small. But you also feel like one with everything, so you feel this love. You feel love for no reason, you feel happy for no reason, and you feel peaceful for no reason, and you bring that with you. So then you're getting into the spiritual level. Spirituality is getting to this point, very slowly, but you can't push yourself in there. It's more about letting go of the things that separate you from your own spirit. And eventually find out that you never were separate. You don't need to get in touch with your awareness. Does anybody here lose your awareness? Did you misplace it? Did you leave it in the car, leave your awareness at home? It's here right now, right? You're always aware. But how often are you aware of your awareness? You're usually busy thinking about, well, I'm thirsty, or I gotta go to this class, or I gotta end this class now, you know. There's things we gotta do, you know. So those things are important, but you know, we forget about the background of everything. Everything is happening within my field of awareness. My awareness can't step outside of everything I'm experiencing right now. Everything is happening in my field of awareness now. But because I don't pay attention to the background, which is awareness, I feel like I'm this little thing surrounded by everything else, and I get disturbed, and I'm going off here and reacting to this. And if I'm in this place, I realize it's all happening within me. And if you go deep enough into love, you feel like everything is you. Everything is an expression of formless spirit. Everything is an expression of you. and you can't help but love it because it's a part of you. That's when you dissolve into love and dissolve into pure happiness. That's the idea of spiritual practice. There's a lot more I could cover here about this, but my time is running out now. At 5 o'clock there's what's happening is a movie starting there. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Can you repeat what you said? You said something like you imagine yourself be with someone happy, or is that what you said?
Oh boy, I don't know what I said. This is a way back.
Then you open your heart. It's a way to build your happiness. You imagine a person you're
Oh,
happy
thank you.
Oh, right.
Yes.
There, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So yeah, some people are not really that comfortable feeling.
Love.
So you think about somebody that you love, you admire, and you like spending time with. Okay, and then you feel, what is it that feels like? Focus on that feeling of love. After a while you can let them go and just focus on that feeling, and then see what it feels like in your heart area. And just imagine there's like, your heart is warm and it's expanding, so you feel it physically and emotionally. I do the exercise most every day. So I want to keep my heart open. And after a while, you find that you carry that feeling with you more and more. It's actually a very pleasant thing to do. It's called focusing on love. You're not trying to be loving, you're just focusing on it and you just absorb it. You can do that with gratitude too, or with peace, but a little bit different. But this one is easy to do. And you start to bring the feeling of love into your life more and more, and that alone can make you happier. And it can improve your relationships. Everything will improve just by that one thing. So like if you take a cloth and you grab hold of one thread and you pull on it, what happens? The whole coat goes up, right? Right? So you can pull on the thread that's love, you can pull on the thread that's gratitude, you can pull on the thread that's joy, peace, any one of those. But the thing is not to push it, don't force it. If you force yourself, you end up causing repression. You do it gently, so it's enjoyable. And if things come up, what happens if things come up like, well, I'm trying to be loving, but I don't really love that person very much. You don't try to suppress it. You don't try to make yourself love that person. Just realize, I'm not capable of loving that person yet, but I can be tolerant of them, or I can forgive them. You do what you can. Be gentle with yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day. So love isn't built in a day either. You just go slowly and make it fun and watch what happens. Any other comments or questions, Abby?
That was good what you said about gratitude, and the psychiatrist collects the areas. But on public TV there was this psychiatrist, and they did a study, he said, on a word that has the most energy. And so I thought it was either love or God or Jesus. And the word that in that scientific experiment that had projected the most energy was thank you.
Oh, I thought it'd be the word money. Cash. Thank you is a good one. When someone says thank you, it feels very good. If they say I love you, you go, well, what does that mean? Thank you is easy, right?
Do you
Yeah, thank
remember
you.
Dr. Emoto?
Thank you.
What's
So Dr. Emoto was this Japanese scientist that started studying water. He says that water is actually a crystalline energy. And what he would do, they would freeze water, and then as it started to melt at a certain point, it would create these hexagonal crystal shapes. They found that water that was very pure made beautiful hexagonal crystals. Water that was polluted made kind of ugly, misformed shapes. Also, they found that if they sent love to the water, or said thank you, says I love you, I thank you, or send it that energy, and then they freeze it, and then as it's melting, again, that also made beautiful crystals. They say our body is, what, 70% water, maybe more, maybe less. So if you feel those things, you're actually altering the molecular structure in your body, since we're mostly water. Your water's becoming crystal. Of course, you might make a little clanging sound as you're walking, all these little crystals banging around in you, but you'll feel good, you know. It's by having a bunch of little crystals and marbles in your pocket. Oh, here comes Abby. Clink, clink, clink. but you'll be happy because it'll all be hexagonal instead of being all wet. Instead of being all wet, you're all crystal. So yeah, thank you, Alan. So it affects us on a physical, biological level, on a chemical level, on a nervous level, and it affects your soul. So the more you focus on these things, your aura tends to get brighter and bigger. So you just go up to a psychic person and say, how's my aura doing today? Well, you're doing pretty good, you know, keep it up. You know, so that's how you can tell. Just get an aura meter, check you every day. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up because the movie is about to start. I'm sorry I couldn't get into more. I have to do a part 2 or part 3 on all this stuff. So again, thank you for coming to this class. I appreciated your being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.